Alrighty, let's get started with your warm-up for the day. First thing that we're going to do for our lower body warm-up is we're going to do some scoops. So we're going to stick one heel out in front of the body, and then we're going to swoop the arms down. We're going to do this 5 times on each leg. So we are just swooping the arms down. That's 2 and 3, trying to keep this leg straight and feeling the stretch throughout the back of the leg. 4 and 5. Before we switch to the other side, we're going to do the same thing. Stick one heel out, do 1. We're going to do 5 total. 2, 3, 4, and 5. All right, next we're going to start to warm up the hips. So we're going to open the gate, bringing one knee up, putting all of our weight on one leg, and then rotating the hip outwards. If you need to hold onto something for support, that is totally fine. We're going to do 5 of these on each side. So that is 3 and 4 and 5. All right, same thing on the other side. We're going to shift all of our weight onto one leg, and then we're going to bring one knee up and rotate it out to the side. Trying to keep the rest of our body nice and still. That is 3 and 4 and 5. All right, from here we're going to take a little bit of a wide stance with our feet. Toes can be facing forward or slightly pointed out. We want to make sure we're keeping our core nice and tight and our shoulders back. We never want to be rounding our back. From here we're going to bend down and just try to touch the floor or get as close to the floor as you can. So here, just shifting down, trying to touch the floor, and then I'm going to walk my hands over to touch one foot. And if you can only get this far, then just kind of point towards that foot, and then I'm going to walk my hands to touch the other foot. Trying to feel a stretch throughout the backs of my legs. We're just going to stay like this for a few moments or until I feel like I've gotten a good stretch throughout the backs of my legs. And then we're going to take an even wider stance. So we want the stance to be really, really wide with the toes facing forward. Here I'm going to lunge into one side of this stretch. So I'm just bending this knee and keeping this leg straight. Bending down, coming up, bending down, coming up. So that was 1 on each side. We're going to do a total of 3 on each side, so 2 more. Bending down, feeling a little bit of a stretch throughout this outstretched leg. Coming up, bending down, and then 1 more on each side. Down and up, and down and up. Alrighty, from here we are going to come to the floor into a tabletop position. So on the hands and knees, you are more than welcome to grab a little exercise mat to put underneath you if that would be more comfortable. And from here, we're going to come onto the hands and knees with the wrists right underneath the shoulders and the knees right underneath the hips. From here, what we're going to do is try to bring one foot up. So we're going to bring one foot up to be right next to the hands. Try to get as close to this as you can. It might not be right up next to your hands. And then we're just going to kind of lean into that foot. We're going to lean onto that side of the body, just trying to get some stretching here in this hip. And then to make it a little bit more challenging, if you'd like to make that stretch a little bit harder, you can bring one hand up and open it up to face that knee that is up next to your hands. We're going to do 3 rotations here, keeping the core nice and tight the whole time. And 3. And then we're going to bring this foot down and switch to the other side. So bringing the other foot up to the hands. I'm going to lean into this knee ever so slightly, just trying to get a stretch throughout the hips. And then I'm going to do the same rotation 3 times on this side. So rotating my chest to now face that knee that is up by my hands. And 2 and 3. There we go, coming back into the tabletop position. All right, now that we are up from this tabletop position, we're going to do some body weight squats. So I'm going to have you step your feet a little bit wider than shoulder width apart, and we're going to point the toes out slightly. From here, we're going to make sure our shoulders stay pinned back, chest is tall and proud, and we are contracting our core, keeping that nice and tight. So that if someone were to come and slap you in the stomach, it wouldn't hurt because you're contracting your core. From here, we are going to break at the hips, the same time that we bend the knees, coming down into an air squat, trying to have our thighs parallel to the ground, and then standing up. So I'm going to turn to the side and do the same thing. My feet are in that same position, a little bit wider than shoulder width apart, toes slightly pointed out. My shoulders are back, chest is up, and my core is tight. I'm going to break at the hips at the same time that I bend my knees, coming down into an air squat, trying to have my thighs parallel to the ground, and then standing up. We're going to go ahead and do 10 of these together. One last thing, you want to make sure that your knees are going over your toes. So if your toes are pointing in this direction, you want your knees to also point in this direction. If your toes are pointing in this direction, you do not want your knees to be going in or out. So we're going to go ahead and do 10 air squats together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay, so in the standing position, we are going to do some ankle stretches. So shifting our weight to be just on one leg, we're going to pick one leg up off the ground, and you're welcome to use something for support if you need to here. And we are going to rotate the ankle in a circle, stretching out all those muscles in the ankles that have been working really hard in all of our cardio training. We're going to switch to the other side. We're going to do this 2 times total. So this is 1. We're going to do 1 more repetition on each side. Switching legs. There we go, getting a nice stretch, moving the ankle throughout its full range of motion. And then 1 more stretch on the other side as well. Lastly, we're going to do just a little bit of core activation. So we are going to come onto our backs, lying on our backs on the ground. And so here what I want you to do is contract your core and kind of curl up a little bit so your shoulders are off the ground, and we don't want there to be any space underneath your low back. So you are rounding your back and you want to really press your hips and press your low back into the ground. From here, what you can do is bring your knees up, and then you're also going to bring your hands up, making sure that there is no space underneath your low back. And then from here, what I want to challenge you to do is outstretch one leg and then bring it back, outstretch another leg and bring it back, outstretch another leg and bring it back, outstretch another leg and bring it back. And so with this core activation exercise, I want to encourage you to implement breathing techniques. You can breathe out before you start a repetition of this exercise. Do the repetition and then breathe in, but you want to make sure you are always breathing and supplying your body with oxygen. So don't hold your breath for too long while you're doing this. So this is going to, if we're incorporating the breathing, it's going to look like this. We're going to make sure we are engaging our core, keeping it nice and tight. We've got our knees up and there's no space underneath the low back. I'm going to breathe out. When I breathe out, I'm engaging my core more. And then I'm going to outstretch one leg and then bring it in. Outstretch the other leg and bring it in. And then I'm going to resume normal breathing, maybe taking a few deep breaths if I need to recover a little bit. And to make that exercise more challenging, you can outstretch your legs a little bit longer. You can hold, or you can do both legs at a time, or you can also incorporate moving your arms in the backward position as well. But I do want you to do 10 repetitions of that breathing exercise in the way that is going to be most helpful for you. All right, and that concludes our warm-up. I hope you have a great workout.